Welcome to the Explainer. Every major cyber operation, whether it's corporate espionage or a state-sponsored attack, starts the exact same way. And it's not with a bang, but with the quiet, methodical art of digital reconnaissance. So how does a cyber attack really kick off? I think most of us picture this sudden, all-out, brute force assault, right? But the reality is way quieter than that. It actually begins with a super careful, almost invisible investigation. And that first phase, well, it has a name, reconnaissance. Or sometimes people call it footprinting. The best way to think about it is like a digital detective. They're gathering all the clues, mapping out every single entry point and potential weakness, long before they ever think about making a move. Okay, so what are these digital detectives actually looking for? What goes into building this map? It really all boils down to answering four key questions. First, what digital stuff does a target even have? Domains, subdomains, all that. Then, where is it all located? Next, how is it all built? And finally, who operates it? The goal here is to build an incredibly detailed profile of the target's entire digital attack surface. And this whole investigation, it really happens in two very different ways. First, you've got passive footprinting. Think of this like being a spy with a pair of binoculars. You're just gathering public intelligence without anyone knowing you're there. Then there's active footprinting. This is like walking right up to the front door and knocking. So one is super stealthy and the other is, well, pretty loud. Now, there's a golden rule here for any investigator. You always start passively. Always. You want to gather as much intelligence as you possibly can from a safe distance before you do anything that might set off an alarm. It just minimizes your risk and makes that next active phase so much more effective. All right, so let's dive into that world of the silent observer, because it is absolutely wild how much sensitive information is just sitting out there in the open. It's just waiting for someone who knows the right way to look for it. And you know what's funny? One of the most powerful tools for this isn't some super complex secret hacking software. It's Google. Yep, the search engine we all use every single day. With just a couple of clever tricks, you can turn it into an insanely powerful reconnaissance weapon. The secret sauce here is using these special commands called operators. They let you filter your search results with, surgical precision. For instance, using the site operator lets you search inside just one specific website. Or you could use file type to hunt down specific kinds of documents like PDFs or spreadsheets. So check this out. A simple search like this one tells Google, hey, look only inside this one website and only show me pages that have the word login in the web address. Just like that, you can find forgotten or exposed login portals that were never meant to be public. But it can get way more serious than that. This search, for example, is looking for SQL files. Now, SQL files are basically databases, and this query is looking for any that have been accidentally left exposed online. And it gets worse. It's not just looking for any old database file, it's specifically searching for ones that have the word password somewhere inside them. Yikes. And believe it or not, it can get even crazier. This query here, this can find something genuinely shocking. Unsecured live webcam feeds. It's basically searching for the default title and the common URL structure of a really popular brand of security camera. And just like that, it can reveal live streams that are completely open for anyone on the internet to see. Okay, so beyond Google, another absolute goldmine for information is social media. This whole practice of digging through platforms for clues, well, it has a name. Social Media Intelligence, or SOCMINT for short. Think about what you can find here. An employee's job title? That can help map out a company's entire hierarchy. And get this, even a totally harmless-looking photo can contain hidden data, like the exact GPS coordinates where it was taken. That could reveal a sensitive location. But what if you wanted to search beyond just websites and social media posts? What if you could search for every single device connected to the internet? That sounds like science fiction, right? Well, it's not. That's exactly what a search engine called Shodan does. Shodan is just constantly scanning the entire internet, and it catalogs everything it finds. I'm talking servers, webcams, smart fridges, and even industrial control systems. Finding the controls for a power plant, that's not just a data breach anymore. That raises the scary possibility of causing real-world physical damage. Okay, so now that we've gathered this huge pile of data passively, let's switch gears and talk about the other side of the investigation. This is the point where the detective decides to stop watching from a distance and actually go knock on the door. And yeah, this is pretty much the point of no return. The second you start active footprinting, you are not a silent observer anymore. You are officially entering the noisy zone, and every single thing you do from this point on leaves behind digital fingerprints. Fingerprints that can be traced right back to you. See, active techniques work by sending signals directly to the target systems just to see how they respond. And let me be clear, this is totally illegal without permission. Why? Because these probes are the exact thing that security systems, like firewalls, are built to spot and log. The main tool for this job is something called a port scanner, and the most famous one by far is Nmap. The easiest way to think of it is like a tool that goes around a digital building and systematically checks every single door and window to see which ones are open, closed, or locked. The whole process is really methodical. First, the scanner sends out a little signal, a ping, just to see which computers are actually online. Then it starts checking all the common digital doorways, or ports, on those machines. And finally, for any of those open doors it finds, it tries to figure out what service is running behind it. Is it a web server, a database, a mail server? So, after all of this, all the silent observation and all the noisy probing, what's the end result? I mean, why go to all this trouble in the first place? The answer is pretty straightforward. Our digital detective now has a complete blueprint of their target. They've mapped out the entire digital landscape, they've identified the tech being used, and they found all the open doors. And that blueprint, that's what reveals the path of least resistance. It dictates every single move an attacker is going to make next. When you think about it, all of this really just shows how much information we and the organizations we work for are leaving behind online. It's a huge reminder that real security starts with just understanding your own footprint. So it kind of makes you ask yourself, right? What does your digital trail say about you?